Welcome to Mastering Mortgages, presented by Revolution Mortgage, the podcast that demystifies the world of mortgages, real estate, and homeownership. Our goal is to empower and inspire homebuyers, real estate professionals, and mortgage industry leaders. My name is Danielle, and I want to invite you to join me as I sit down with today's guest to talk about practical tips and valuable insights into the mortgage industry. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Mastering Mortgages podcast. In today's episode, we're thrilled to host three distinguished guests from Revolution Mortgage. Joining us from our San Angelo branch are the producing area manager, Jill Taylor, along with the branch manager, Brittney Taylor. We're also delighted to have Miranda Bird, who is the branch manager in Midland, Texas. Today's discussion will explore the community factors influencing real estate and the latest trends in the market. We'll also learn about the intriguing family dynamics of the Taylors within the business world. Let's dive right in.
First off, I just want to say thank you so much, Jill, Brittney, and Miranda, for joining us on this next episode that we have, just talking about community and real estate. And before we dive into the main topic that we want to discuss, I just would like to get to know a little bit more about each of you, and just would like to start off with what your most memorable vacation is and why does it stand out to you? And Jill, I will let you start with this one.
Well, my favorite vacation was at the beach with the girls and their kids and husbands. And
I didn't have kids yet.
Oh, yeah, you did not have children at that time. So Brittney was the aunt at that time. And we just laughed and had so much fun. And we have like a story from that trip that is just a great family story. So maybe Brittney, you take it from there and tell them. I mean, I don't know if maybe that wasn't your favorite.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was, the hands down, which I don't know if anybody knows or everybody does know that we're all three related. So most of our vacations are, together, but we volunteered to, let Miranda take all of the luggage and everything. We're driving to the beach about 6 hours, 7 hours away, but with kids, add a couple hours for stops. But what we didn't know as an unexperienced mom
and a grandma with no boys,
was when they need to go to the restroom, they need to go and they mean it. And I was like, hold on, we can make it. But we're in standstill traffic.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Miles of traffic jam.
Miles. And there was no exit. You couldn't get off or anything like that. So the only thing, and mind you, we had, Jill had her dog. I had my dog. We had my niece and my nephew in my car and us two. So the car was loaded down already. Animals everywhere, kids everywhere. And nephew was like, gotta go. It's a level 10 emergency situation here.
He was like 6, right?
Yeah, he was little. And so we're calling Miranda. We're like, what do we do? What do we do? Because we're standstill, but we're not still enough where he can jump out. So we're like, give him a cup. That's the only option, But there was no experience, and we didn't know he didn't know what to do. And so
I didn't know
Jill turns around to make sure everything's going okay, and she took so much pee to the face. It was crazy. The dogs were going everywhere. My niece is screaming like she doesn't want to be in the line of fire. I'm like, not my car. Like, we're calling Miranda saying, what do we do? What do we do?
And it was too late. She said, well, what'd you say, Miranda, to me? Better y'all than me. No. You told me, Mom, you have to hold the cup.
You got to help them out there.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole days that we were down there was full of stories like that. So
we just laughed and laughed. And
we talked about that one every time.
Yeah. But that was probably the most memorable moment of all of us, when we talk about funny trips, we're like, we're not taking the kids in our car this time.
And immediately,
The
Brittney
one
treated them
time I
like-
get them convinced to take my kids and they blow it up for the rest
Yeah.
of my life. No, it was the one time I was happy to be behind them in traffic.
Yeah, I had to trade my car after that because I don't like tea. But lessons learned, and
Yeah, I could understand how that would definitely be a very memorable vacation, for better or for worse, right? But yeah, well, I appreciate you guys sharing that. Was it a beach in Texas that y'all were going to? You said you were driving.
yeah, we went to Crystal Beach, right? Is that
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay, nice. I don't think I've ever been there, and I'm in Texas myself, so
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was really nice. It's you get to take a ferry ride. So that was also kind of fun because the kids got to get out and walk around and see all this stuff. So we had a great time. Then we went to the little carnival and what is that? Pier 1? Is Pier?
Yeah, it was the pier.
the pier.
Yeah. It was a
Had a great
blast.
time.
Ate seafood till we were just over it. It was great. We chased some crabs at night with the flashlights. I don't know why that's so much fun, but it is.
Yeah, it's like,
It was a good time. It was nice to kind of step out of work.
yeah,
and-
because normally we don't get to go together.
Right.
Somebody's holding down the fort, so Brittney manages a branch, Miranda manages the branch, and I do whatever they tell me to do.
that's not true.
It's on recording though, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
yes,
I can
yes.
oversee everything, so.
Aw. Well, good. I mean, it sounds like y'all have a good family dynamic inside and outside of the office, which is really awesome. And I'm sure just helps you guys figure out how to work as a team, whether it's around family or for work stuff. And with that, I just wanted to learn a little bit more about what inspired each of you to become a loan officer, and how does working with family make your experience in the mortgage industry extra special? And Jill, we can start with you.
Sure. I started out as a loan officer assistant to a really high producer, and she decided one day that I was going to be a loan officer. She's like, "You just need to be one." And so that was kind of how I got into it. And I was addicted. She just saw that I had a passion for helping people. And I was always I'm the huggy kind of, want to make sure everybody has a great time and that we keep the customer for life. I have those kind of things. The relationship, whenever they're sitting in front of me, the girls were little at that time, or younger, much younger. And I've been in this over 30 years. And so, they were helping me put files together when we had paper files. And so they started learning this business at a very early age. But I like some of the flexibility that I was still able to go to soccer games and do things and go back home and work till midnight after they went to bed. So that worked out well for me.
I used to always tell you, speak English. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
What is that? What are those words?
And they both said, I will never do that because I did work hard, really hard.
Right.
You thought you scared them off.
I did.
She did.
She did.
Yeah. Brittney, you were going to be an orthodontist.
That's right. I wanted to do something that I for sure could not take home. Like, I was like, I cannot take people's teeth home with me and I can still make, good money. But turns out, when you're in college, you need a job, right? So what do? You run to your mom and you beg for a job, and which is what I did, and got told no. But I kept coming because at that time I was a typical college kid, not ready to take on the responsibility of a career, and at that point in my life, I had not really, in my head, I thought mortgage was just people wanted a loan, they came in, they signed papers, they left, and there was nothing emotional towards it. So Jill decided to teach me a little lesson, and she was like, you want to work here, you better earn it, and you're going to earn it by learning how to repair credit and helping people. And so I was like, I can do it. I can do anything just out of the challenge. And so I worked really hard. I learned a lot about credit, and I actually went to her and said, okay, this client's ready. Their credit looks good. And she said, no, you did the work. You call the client and tell them. I was like, okay, cool. So I didn't think this would be like an emotional conversation with this lady. I still remember her name. It was Judy. I can't remember her last name. I wish I could so I could look her up. But she answers the phone and she's like, you have no idea. No one would help me. Thank you so much. You changed my life. My husband passed away and my son is deployed and I'm raising my grandkids and now I'm going to be a homeowner. And it's all because you took the time to help me. And I was hooked. I was like, I want to help everybody. Please. I understand why you work so hard. And, you know, totally changed my career path. And now I just try to help as many people as I can. And then I suckered Miranda into doing mortgage too.
Oh,
Yeah, so mine was I definitely dug my heels in the longest. I was like, not going to do it. You can't talk me into it. But I always have had a passion for sales and for helping people. And I did some different types of jobs. And then I went through a divorce. And I fortunately had some pretty amazing family members rooting me on, telling me that I was missing what I was meant to do. And I'll never forget, I was beyond nervous because most of my sales jobs were not office type sales jobs. And that first day walking in as a front desk, which is where I started, I had big eyes and big ambitions and wanted to make the best out of it. And I knew after that first day, we had customers coming in. It was so addicting to just see their enthusiasm and their desires and goals and dreams, and that we get to be a part of that. And I'm just like Brittney, I was instantly hooked. I called Mom later that night and I was like, dang it, you guys were right. I do like this job. Now all these years I'm saying I'll never do it, and now it's really 100% my passion, and I genuinely love what we get to do every day.
Yes, looks like Mom was right in the end, huh?
He's right.
Thank you. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I did make him start at the beginning, you know, at the very, like, Brittney had to work in the kitchen because we didn't have room at that time. And so her desk was a table in the kitchen of the office. So I'm very much a knowledge person in this business that thinks you have to know what you're doing if you want to help people. You can't just be a salesperson. You have to be an expert at what you do. And so they didn't get it easy. I didn't pay them. I paid them worse than I paid any employee ever. And, you know, I made them suffer. I don't know why, I guess, but
It's all right.
I figured, you know, this
Learned a lot.
is a hard business. And if you're going to stay in it, they didn't get it easy. I'll just put it that
It
way.
was so much more than the money, though. Like,
It was.
the emotional attachment to helping people, and people think I'm crazy when I tell my story about work, which I tell my story a lot because I love it. And I want people to know, like, you're not alone. You're just because you have bad credit, because you've never learned or been taught, doesn't mean that you can't recover. So I do try to tell my story often so that people feel welcome, because I think people feel fear of rejection and won't apply or won't take the next step or ask for help. So I feel like, you know, the more I can share my story with people, maybe I can change somebody else's life too. So it became so much more about more than the money. And I actually understood Jill, my mom, way more, and why she was so passionate about it. So it made us even closer as a family.
It did.
Because there was even more respect, where before I thought she just overworked herself and there was no reward for her, that she just was a hard worker. Like, I didn't understand that she did it because she cared so much about so many people. And I felt so selfish that I had, you know, taken up so much of her time when she was out there helping, changing lives. So it was a nice change. And then when Miranda came on, it was like the missing piece to our circle, and
my mom worked for me too. So
right.
Yeah,
it
we
was,
did.
I do believe in your team should have different backgrounds, should have different experiences, because that helps us with empathy with our clients and, just being able to bounce things off. And, Miranda is kind of the middle one. She thinks the same as Brittney and I both. She can see both sides.
She's our translator.
Yeah. And Brittney and I totally have opposite ways of looking at things, and we like it that way. And so we don't think of it as disagreeing. We think of it as opening our minds. And I mean, sometimes we're like, I'm right. And Brittney's like, I'm
yeah,
right.
There's a little.
And so we just walk away
but...
because even though this is our careers and our jobs and we're passionate about helping people, we've, in our own brains, we didn't say this, but love came first. And we didn't ever want to be one of those families that work or career tore us apart. And so we know that some discussions just need to be tabled and thought about a little bit more. And we always end up with a compromise, or we give in if the other person is, if we realize strongly passionate, we know how to give in. So we don't individually win battles, but I think together as a team, we understand that we're not always right about everything individually, but together we can come up with something that's good for everybody.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Jill, because I was also just wondering, fast forwarding to today, how the dynamic of working together, mixing family and business is. And so you kind of just answered that right there. But yeah.
Well, people would be surprised that Brittney and I work in the same office and Miranda works in a different one. And Miranda and I have a morning call and an evening call just to catch up on things. But Brittney and I may go a week without even talking to each other.
Which is weird. We email each other.
Yeah, we email. Yeah. And we're in the same office, but it's just a different
dynamic.
Yeah. And it's fun though. And we all appreciate it. And I mean, definitely if we need something, then we all jump on a call together, so I think that's kind of fun. We're never disrespectful to each other though.
Well, I'd like to add one thing to that too, is we have this incredible capability of tagging each other in on situations where maybe they're stronger in that area, and our employees really greatly benefit from our different levels of experience and where we're coming from, and again, our product knowledge. And I think that's one thing that we've done really well in our career is we are knowledge people. We really truly believe in knowledge is power, and we are constantly trying to educate and keep the public and our team up to date with the most recent updates and how we can help more people get into homes.
Yeah. I would just say one more thing, just letting people know it was not easy when Brittney and I started working together because we really are different personalities. So as time went along, we evolved. And the way we were able to do that is we did care about each other, and so we had to make those decisions that we could literally have, I don't want to say an argument, but something like that, disagreement. And I think people, if they would have heard us, might have thought we were really frustrated with each other. And maybe we were, but I think we learned that that was okay. That wasn't a problem. That was a benefit to us.
We both have such passionate thoughts and ideas. So that's why, when Miranda joined, it did seem like almost like a peace treaty.
Yeah.
So she's a
balancer.
We're a lot alike and we're a lot different, me and Jill. So we both want to be heard and we both have big ideas and we want to help a lot of people. But how we get there is completely different. So that's where Miranda comes in, and she, even with our loan officers and our on our team, she always is willing to hear an idea of completely and be your biggest cheerleader. It's amazing. Yeah. It's the best thing ever.
A great team.
Yeah, we do have a
that
great team.
understands us. And I think that's a big key to it, as well as hiring the right people in our office that understands that individuality versus something else. So they understand that we are passionate and they are too. So, I mean, Joseph on our team and Kendall and several others that have, they let us be us and help us all. We all work as a team together. So I think that's key to hiring kind, nice people that I would adopt as my own children. So
I thought we did.
Oh,
Yeah, me too.
We're sisters. Yeah.
We have lots of brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I so appreciate you guys just sharing about, how it is working together as a family and how that dynamic is, and just how it comes together in your business and at your branches. And I wanted to just take a step back to what you're guys talking about with just helping people, and that kind of ties really well with the conversation of community and where you're at. And so with that, I just wanted to ask, how do changes in the real estate market affect local businesses and job opportunities like within a community? And Jill, I'll let you start again unless somebody else wants to.
Yeah, good for search.
Miranda, why don't you take this one? I think you'd be good.
Okay.
All right.
You're throwing me off my game by making
Sorry
it
about
first. No, I'm just kidding. No, really, that's actually a great question. And really, I think there's a lot of different ways to kind of approach that answer. I think for an example sake, when the market is booming, we start seeing more construction, we start seeing more availability, we start seeing homes go up in price values that is more affordable. And, that's something that I think that really is impacting our communities in a positive way. And we're starting to see more of that coming through. And it's been really exciting in our market.
We're seller concessions right now.
Exactly.
If we're talking about the current economy and stuff like that.
In our area.
Yeah, I think that we're kind of lucky we're in Texas. Texas tends to not feel some things as much as the other parts of the country. And we still stay busy. I would just say that people are getting adjusted, I guess, would be to some higher rates than the 2s and 3s that were out there years ago. And, even when that was happening, I was telling people, this is a special little time. This isn't a forever kind of situation. But when I bought my first house, it was 16%. And buying your first house that you could afford, and that got us a start, and so then now I don't know how many houses I've bought, several primary and investment and stuff like that. And so have the girls. Brittney, I think you bought your first investment at what age were you?
24.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Yeah,
I can't get rid of it.
It's a good little rental.
I'm too emotionally attached because it was my first purchase.
And it's a good little moneymaker. But
yeah, and
I think that if you can educate people to see that rate is not everything, you have to look at the whole picture. And you have to understand that if you can get in now, for example, on the economy right now, you're building equity. And once those rates do drop, which seems to be that it's going to be a little bit longer, once they drop, then those prices of those homes are going to go up again because there's going to be more buyers in the
competition. Right.
That's
and
right.
so
Absolutely.
right now,
it's
bad. Yeah.
I have a client right now that is actually a friend of mine that I knew when I first got my license and was, talking to everybody and anybody about purchasing a home. And that was, 6-7 years ago. I've been in mortgage longer than that, but for being licensed. And she called me. She was like, dude, I'm approved for how much? Because she has so much equity in that home that she's going to sell now. She was like, thank you so much for forcing me to buy it. Cause I didn't force her, but I did. Because I was like, no, you need to buy it now. It's going to be worth so much money later on. And you're going to be able to buy your dream home. And now she's married and has a kid and wants to upgrade. And she calls me. She's like, you can tell me what to do all the time. Just joking, of course. But it was so exciting to see that circle come around. And exactly what Jill's saying, she got in at the right time, bought this house for, what it was at the time, seemed expensive. Right now, we'd all like to go back to 6-7 years ago expense. That'd be nice. But anyways, now she has that appreciation and equity in her home that she's going to be able to use that. And what a gift to her future, her husband now, and her children, that she was able to do that. And a lot of people who aren't educated or scared of the market or who rent don't ever have that opportunity, just because nobody was there to educate them or tell them about the financial benefits.
Right.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah, like
that really is exciting.
There's not as many offers on the houses, and so that's a good thing. You might get the house you really want, because you're not competing with 5 different people over $20,000 or $30,000 over that price.
Exactly.
So I think it's like, if you can get in, I'm all about, if you're responsible and you know what you're doing, I think that's important. But, buying that house and investing in property is one of the biggest windfalls anybody's ever going to have. And so if you're at a regular job earning a salary or hourly, and you can afford that house, I say go for it.
You're paying rent. You're going to pay to live somewhere.
And
unless you're living with your parents.
One thing I've noticed, because I've been doing this over 30 years now, is that I can sacrifice. I went through a divorce as well. And at that time, it was very painful financially and didn't have a lot of money. This is 23 years ago. And for some reason, I'd already had like 3 houses already by then. But I was scared to buy on my own. I guess I thought I needed somebody. Anyway, I bought my first house that was like here in San Angelo 23 years ago. And then that house, I stayed 4 years, and I decided I wanted a house with a pool that was affordable, because Brittney at that time was becoming a teenager, and I felt it was important that all her friends hang out at my house, and the pool would do that, and it did. And so that was my underlying thinking of it. Anyway, I was able to buy that house. It was still affordable. It wasn't a big, expensive one, but it was the right house for me. And then I stayed there 7 years. And when I sold that house, I was able to put 20% down on a bigger house with a pool. And when I sold that house, I was able to build the house that I wanted to build out in the country on 20 acres. And so, I wouldn't have been able to do that probably if I hadn't started
and took the first step
and decided to just get out of the fear.
Right.
And once I did, I was like, better than this. You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
Why are you scared?
It's still scary sometimes.
And when I did it, I was immediately happy.
That's one of my biggest regrets. Before I bought my first house, Jill actually offered to let me buy the first house with the pool and give me equity. And at that time, I was like dating some boy, and he was like, you don't need to buy a house, you don't know what you're doing, blah blah blah. It scared me out of it. If I could go back and slap that Brittney and understand what a gift of equity really was, it would have just jump-started me. It would have been... I'm glad I didn't, because I learned a lesson from that, and it made me better later.
Listen to your mom.
Especially when they're gifting you equity, but it did make me appreciate when I went through the purchase myself, and even though she did still help me later on, I didn't feel so blind. And I think that's why it's so important that consumers do have a relationship with their loan officer, so they don't have to feel that pain and scared and alone,
Yeah.
you can
When
ask
you bought-
questions.
When you bought that house, Britt, I did help her on that first
Yeah.
one.
She did.
I said, you have a choice. She was single at the time. I said, you can buy this house. That was your wedding money. I mean, I didn't buy the house for her. I helped her with the down payment, but, or, it's either help you with the house or the wedding. She goes, oh no, I want the house. I want the house. And I'm glad she did do that.
You still helped with the wedding later.
And and then she did make me help her with the. Didn't make me. I wanted to help her with the wedding, but it's several years later. But yeah, so family help, is. I just think if your family does help you in those things, please, Brittney's been extremely appreciative about that, and I couldn't ask for more appreciation, but that's a big thing for a parent or grandparent to do, just, and I think in our area, that's very common that family does help family. So
Yeah, actually, Granny helped me on our investment property. We were getting ready to sell it, and we needed to replace a roof. And she came in and saved the day. And I mean, it was awesome, though. I mean, it's one of those things. And then we were able to give it right back to her after the sale. So, it's just, I think it is some really good points that y'all are making about family outreach and how that support system is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to touch on too that it's cool to hear you guys kind of practicing what you preach. You're probably helping people all the time with these investment properties and building equity and all of that. And you're telling them why it's such a great investment, but then not only do you know that just from your professional experience, but also from personal experience of actually going through all of that. So I think that just really adds tools to your belt whenever it comes to having that insight, knowledge, and
Yeah.
I think it is.
Thank you.
It's not always perfect either, Like being a landlord is rough. It's not
Or
always.
it can be.
It can
But
be.
it can also be such a stable source of income that,
Right.
making sure you get the right renters. Those are tools that you learn along the way is, on an investment property.
You're
But-
exactly right. It is nice to have those experiences to be able to share with
Yeah,
clients.
and I think that's one reason we do keep buying. We're not just stuck where we're at all. And one of us, it seems like, is always making a change on or buying an investment or something. And the reason I think that's important is you have to keep up with what it feels like to be that client.
That's
and
right.
Remember, every single time they're the boss. They're the ones that are paying your bills. And I tell them, I had a brand new first-time home buyer last night on the phone, and she was so sweet and so kind and said, you're the only one who has given us this much time. She goes, nobody else would even talk to us because their score's low. And I was like, well, that's just temporary. We're going to help, get you some education on this, and you're going to get this better. And then we're going to get it, are you good with getting it to good enough to buy a home? And then afterwards, we're not done. We're
That's
still
right.
here. Still call us. We'll still give you tips and tricks like how to use your credit card as a reward so they pay you instead of you paying interest. So I think, I don't know how many thousands of people we've helped, thousands, but when I am going through the loan process with someone, I honestly feel like they're my family. And they are going to get treated like that because I am that wrapped up in them at that
Remember when I
point.
was your assistant and I used to always come in there and tell you, help my friend, help
Yes.
my friends.
And I would like to say family we like. That's how we treat them.
Yeah.
Yes,
sure.
that's a good point.
Yeah, just to clarify. Well, no, that is awesome. And again, Jill, just appreciate you sharing that story. Just love hearing kind of y'all's why and where it all comes from. And I do want to pivot a little bit just to talk a little bit more about kind of today's market. And, I'll also just mention, because we don't know when this episode will release, so I'll just mention that we're recording this in the middle of January. So as of today's market, in your opinion, what are the key factors that are driving housing affordability issues in urban and rural areas?
I would say
Oh gosh, the cost of
opportunity.
yeah, but also the cost of land is, more
There's
people
only
are
so
wanting.
much land.
Yeah, more people are
Yeah.
wanting to live out of city limits, which is
Yes.
good and bad. You have your good and bad. You have, in most cases, you have less taxes that you have to pay. So sometimes you can qualify for a little bit more. Then you also have, sometimes in those areas, you don't have as good of like public services. Like, not the trash guy can't just come pick up your trash every Tuesday.
They do
Or,
mine.
oh, do they? Well,
Yeah.
you're not that rural. I'm saying, like, if you're very rural, there's pluses and minuses. And, in this market, it's so expensive to do any type of remodel if you're in town. I can't imagine how expensive it would be if you're out of town and someone has to drive to get to you, and the cost of materials. So I would assume it would be, a longer process, more cost to do that.
Yeah, but that's also an opportunity, for if the house is priced right, to find the right contractor
Oh, for sure.
and to I've done it, so I think outside the box a lot. And one of the things, Danny, like when I did go through the divorce, I was broke. I mean, financially it was a big deal. And so I'm very much like, your life doesn't have to stay that way. But I also understood, if you want to buy anywhere, rural, urban, anything, if you're passionate about it and you're willing to make the sacrifices. I mean, I gave up cable. I did certain things to
You did it before
make,
it was cool.
I
Yeah,
did
you
it before it
did.
was cool. Yeah. And so I think that in our, there's so many products available right now that you can help so many more people. That was the reason we were so excited when we moved almost 2 years now, I guess a year and a half. Anyway, to Revolution was just, the idea that there's so many people that want to buy that we can't help if we're not in the vanilla conventional FHA VA world. Now we have construction loans where we can do 100% financing for VA. We can do FHA
Special
and
down payment
yeah,
programs.
on those
Okay.
construction loans. We have an amazing department. We have an amazing, amazing reverse department that I
we
absolutely adore. Because initially, when they said we're getting reverse, I was like, oh boy. And I had a negative thought in my head that it's just not good for older people or something to do that. But now that I'm older, I'm looking at the advantages, and they've changed that program, and it's called a HECM now, and it's just fabulous. And we have the best construction and reverse teams that I've ever seen. They're just
So do you think that
amazing.
will help people in rural areas, like
Um,
having that?
Yeah, I definitely do. So take, for example, my property, and in a few years, I would be able to keep that house, maybe purchase another one with the equity, and have another income stream at some point if I retire. So that's one good thing. And then the, the people that are on Social Security and have limited income, or a spouse has passed, or, they're widowed, I think that a lot of them are rural, and even say urban, whatever, in any area, they have another avenue to live a great life, the last 20, 30 years of their life, versus being stuck and thinking that's their only option. Like, their house is paid for, they get $3,000 or $2,000 in Social Security and maybe a pension, that's it. We can help them with avenues of being able to travel, being able to help their kids while they're alive, give them their down payment for college and things like that, or help with a wedding, or they actually get to see it instead of waiting for them to pass to get to have that. So as I get older, I am thinking on those types of people, and it's exciting to know that we can change lives.
Miranda, in your area, it's a little different because you guys have the oil field. So you have lots of families who move to the rural to get away from the infrastructure in town.
We do.
So how do you
We're
think?
actually seeing an impact on our real estate market with the manufactured homes. So that's really becoming a hot topic in this area. Midland, Odessa still has some great land available. And so, people are trying to take advantage of that so they can stretch their legs, potentially, add maybe an RV park down the road or add another manufactured home for a family member that's aging, like you were talking about, being able to use the HEC home to help them already have a land place to put them. We're also seeing a lot of people that are wanting to call us a permanent home compared to before, where we saw more man camp type situations, where people were living here temporarily.
Well, Midland's done a lot of cool things. They have a lot of great shopping. They have a lot of great. So I think
we're about to have a zoo,
and you're going to have a zoo.
That's awesome.
And so I
kind of crazy.
I think
so. Your market is crazy.
Yeah,
you are right though. People will live where they're comfortable, I guess, where some people want to get out of the city. We don't have the metropolitan areas, Danny, that a lot of places have. So some folks need to stay close to hospitals or their doctors.
I thought that when we lived in Greenwood, right outside of Midland, I thought we were like secluded, like driving to town was a big deal. We didn't have fast food. Like there was like, when Mom would go to the grocery store, we would have a deep freezer in the garage full to the top because you just didn't make runs to the store. Now I live in town. There's a neighborhood Walmart right down the street. If I need something, I just go over there, go grab it. Yeah. I'm home in 10 seconds. It's night and day. Preference. Yeah, but then you have families who are, trying to be more organic or grow their own food. And I feel like a lot of people are really into that right now in our market. So, buying land, I think it's just going to get more expensive.
Yeah. So we see opportunities all the time in both of those situations. And I don't know. I think that's a great question. I just think we are kind of more, Midland's more, maybe, I guess it's a matter of perception. Metropolitan, they have more airlines and stuff like that. We have one.
But their traffic is horrible.
No,
I was about to say, we do have some congestion. You guys have the base. You have a great college,
I think everything's right. Yeah.
It's awesome. Our college in Odessa is really starting to take off. It's getting exciting to see. I think we're actually in a championship right now. It's kind of cool. We're just rocking and rolling in our little metropolitan. But I would say that, our biggest difference is, y'all's is, I feel like, a little bit more artsy and a little bit more creative. And our market is a little bit more oil. Yeah, it's, quick construction, lots of pull the trigger quickly.
So, Danny, I don't know if we answered that correctly or what you were looking for, but I think we have both things going on. And because our branches are close together, we do a lot in each other's markets with each other and stuff. So we see a lot of both of those things where people want to live close to where they work in Midland and people want to live more rurally. And so they'll maybe sometimes be here or just some of the suburbs.
I think about how, we didn't have fast food. I didn't even know Chick-fil-A existed until I was in college.
And we didn't have cable till I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we had a huge satellite. Do you remember?
Sometimes I feel terrible because I'm like running to pick up Chick-fil-A before I pick up my kids almost twice a week.
Now you need to rethink that.
I know. I'm starting to after this call, but we didn't have that in that situation. So I do feel like we were healthier at that time. So as a mom, I'm like, should we move out of town? I don't know.
Well, and I think
Well,
it gives us a unique perspective too, guys, because we really have lived rurally. We really have lived in metropolitan type areas. We do have a really good understanding of how both of those markets and how people feel about those types of properties.
yeah, and I think with Revolution Products and the fact that we can
Oh, yeah.
broker as well, I mean, we can do ranches, we can do so much. And I think that helps us. I think that's, another reason our eyes are so wide open to what do we see currently? We see it all.
Yeah, and I think really y'all kind of covered the next question I was going to ask too, just the emerging trends that in real estate and how that could have an impact on communities in the next few years. I think you guys have really already kind of touched on that and covered it, and just seeing the products that Revolution has and how that can help with those trends in the real estate market.
I think building is the biggest trend
Yeah.
that's about to happen.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just to kind of wrap everything up here, because we've got a lot of great content, and hopefully, our listeners, whether they're realtors or potential home buyers or potential investors or even just loan officers getting their feet wet in the game, are taking away some advice and just also, covering the mistakes that y'all maybe have made and learned from, just learning from that. But I just wanted to ask on this final note, what advice do you have for mortgage professionals? And then what advice do you also maybe have for borrowers? You can answer either or both, but just wanted to leave off on that.
Okay. Advice. You need to like change. So make sure your personality fits. Mortgage world is not for the weak. You need to be strong and you need to have a desire and a passion to, in my opinion, to help others. That takes you far in this business. And I'm huge on knowing what you're talking about, and that's knowledge. And so make sure you are willing to study the products and learn the process. And a lot of I don't know, clients and things have said it looks so much fun, and it is. We do have a good time, but it's very hard work, and there's lots of deadlines and lots of responsibility. So I think as a loan officer, it's your responsibility, no matter what part of that process of that loan is, to make sure your clients are happy all the way through. So you need to be very accountable and responsible for, somebody's happiness. That's my take on that.
Yeah. Where did you want to go?
Sure. So I would tell first-time homebuyers to just start the conversation. I think that's really the hardest step is step one. And that's just having the conversation starting. And I promise you, we are really nice, down to earth people. We really do just want to help you guys figure out what's the best plan of action for your own life and for your own family success. And, that's something I think that we're all really passionate about. And it's a judgment-free zone. We're not going to look at your credit and say, oh, we're never talking to that guy again. No, we're going to help you. We want to look through it and we want to help you get your goals and your dreams accomplished. And that would be my first home buyer advice. And then anybody who's looking to get into the business, I would say, doing your research, being a good researcher, and additionally having a great mentor. Thank you, ladies. Seriously, I'm so grateful for everything that y'all have done for me in my career. And I know I started a little later, but I just thank you both every day for the leadership and the guidance that you guys give to our team.
Well, it works the same way, Miranda. I wanted you here because of your empathy for people and your humor and your way to bring fun into the business. And the fact that you never give up, ever. both of you had that. And
I'm going to lead off of that too, Miranda, with your mentorship for new loan officers. I'm going to say that's super important to be willing to understand and accept criticism, because it's not easy. And yes, helping people comes naturally to our family and our group, but some people are shy. Some people don't know where to start. And they assume that, just like I did as a young person, that people are just going to walk in and want to work with you. And it doesn't work like that. So you have to be pretty disciplined. You have to be willing to accept that what you're doing isn't working and you need to change that, and have a plan and be able to execute that plan. But on top of that, kind of a summary of what you both said, you have to be able to execute it. You have to deliver. You have to give good results and give a good experience to these clients, because sometimes realtors will only give you one try. So you got to make sure that you know what you're doing and ask for help when you need it. I see a lot of new loan officers who wait till the last minute before they ask for help or ask for a question. I don't know what that reasoning is. Maybe they're nervous or trying to, save our time. I don't know. We have open door policy, and we also have lots of groups for our loan officers. But I would say being willing to accept accountability for your own success as a loan officer is probably my number one thing I would like to, tell anybody who's new. Like, you're only as good as the amount of effort you put into something. So for that. And then for buyers, I would say buy now, because it's not getting any cheaper later on. Ask the questions, take the next steps. Sometimes you're not ready, and that's okay. But we have a firm rule here. It's not no, it's here's how. So even if you aren't ready today to purchase, you bet the faster you are, the better deal you're going to get at that time. So that's my advice for anybody who's kind of on the fence.
Definitely. And I'm glad you said that, Brittney, too, because at the end of the day, it is about when the buyer's ready. They don't, it's not just about looking at the market and stuff. If they have their budget set and they have everything in line, then, and you guys are helping them make sure all their stuff is in order, then it really is just, it comes down to when they're ready, and it makes sense. So, well, I think that is a great wrap for this episode, and just talking about community and real estate, and just having those ties, and also the family bonds. Really enjoyed learning a bit more about that. I just wanted to say thanks again, Jill, Brittney, Miranda, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's been such a joy to have you guys. So thanks so much.
we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
To stay up to date with our podcast, please subscribe, follow us on social media, and visit our website, revolutionmortgage.com, to learn more about how we are revolutionizing the mortgage industry. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you next time.